Hello viewers, at long last, after an extensive saga, I finally have the Carrier International Series 27,500 BTU air conditioner installed here in the living room. I'm not going to take the front cover off because it's a little flaky the way it fits on there, but try to get a shot of the data sheet here. It's model 51GMA228301. It is 3,350 watts, 15.2 amps, 27,500. It's a 220 unit, 8.2 R. Who cares? And you're not gonna be able to see the date, I don't think, because it's very hard to read as it is, but I believe this is a 1986 model. This is one of the three that I have, the three International Series that I have. Actually, no, I now have four of them. This is one of four. Ironically, the 12,000 is the only one I don't have, which is the one that my grandparents have. This one, this 27,500, came out of a friend's house. He had bought a house, and this was in like an addition portion, and he said I could have it if I patch up the wall. So I pulled it out, patched up the wall, and here we are. At some point along the way, the front cover for that machine disappeared, and so I had the sleeve and I had the unit itself, but I didn't have the cover. So then a couple months, maybe a month ago now, wasn't that long ago, a listing on the Facebook market appeared for two International Series. One was a 20,000 and the other was a 9,000. They both had the covers, and the covers on those, the front covers, appeared to be the same size that it would need for this. I went all the way to New Jersey to pick up those units because I wanted a 9 for the back room, and I didn't realize until I got home that those machines did not come with the chassis. And I guess what happened was probably slid them out and put the new junky machines in their place. So not good. So unfortunately the 9 and the 12 or the 20 that I have no chassis. And the 20 I probably wouldn't use simultaneously with this one, but I would have used the 9, but no, can't. I mean, I could, but with the way the windows are in this house, they're too small. Trying to fit something in there without the chassis, and it would be really flaky. So that trip kind of turned out to be a bust and a half. However, those covers did end up fitting on here, so I was able to complete this machine and put the cover on. The only problem with this cover, and both of these are like this, is that the Carrier thing is worn away, which is just really odd. I don't understand how that would happen, but it did. So I'll have to try to print out a new label or something. So Russ did offer me a cover for this. The cover that he had is the General Electric branded variant, which is wood grain on the front. I like the cosmetics of that cover better, but I really wanted to find the original cover because my grandparents have one of these, the 12,000, and they've had it for longer than I've been around. And so I wanted the unit to be cosmetically identical to match the unit that I grew up with over at their house. So now it does. It's a little flaky. It doesn't fit perfectly, and I don't have any idea why. It fits fine on this side and on the top, but then when you get to this side, it starts to come off on the bottom, even though like dimensionally it seems like it's the right size, and then it doesn't quite line up with the control panel. It's about maybe I don't know, 2 millimeters off. And it's not perfect, but at some point it's like, just leave it alone. It's not worth trying to play with it, because the machine it just doesn't want to be messed with anymore, and it works, and from 3 feet away it looks fine. So it's better to just take it as it is and leave it alone, because you start messing with it, something's going to break or whatever. It's just not worth playing with. So I mean, to me it looks okay from the inside. And then the cord goes over there and fits pretty good. Now let's go outside for a minute, take a look on the outside. The carrier logo has also faded. I gotta try to do something about that. Here it is from the outside. Built a new frame. Got the window on the top, which is what I wanted, because when I first put it in last year, or not this one, but when I had the air conditioner last year, it was just plywood all the way up to the top, and I hated the way it was. So this is better now with the window. It's the way I wanted it originally. It does have the Toshiba compressor. I don't know if the compressor is actually made in Japan, or if it's just like Toshiba is situated in Japan. I don't see an indication of where it's made, but these were very good quality compressors, so I wouldn't be surprised if it was made in Japan. I don't see anything on there. Well, maybe somebody can tell me where it was made. Now the compressor is floating, the condenser is floating, and the fan motor is floating, because there's just nothing left of the case. It's just gone. And I was really concerned about that, and then Van said, "I just throw it in there, it'll run." And I kind of was like, "What do you mean?" But then I thought about it, and he was like, he's probably right, because it has been running like this for a long time, right? Because this kind of damage doesn't happen overnight. Like it's been like this for a long time, and the compressor's been running like this for a long time. So stupid paper wasps, I gotta start vacuuming those up again. So it's hot out. I'm going back in. It's not ideal, and of course it's not the way it should be, but you've seen the video. If you've seen the videos of the inside of the unit, you'd know what I'm talking about, how bad it is. There's nothing left of the compressor mounts. They're just gone. Nothing's holding the condenser in place. The fan is just sitting there. But it's so bad, it's got to have been like that for 10 or 15 years by now, probably. So I don't think it matters. It's not what it should be. Sometimes that's just the way things are. I actually have a sign in my office that says, it is what it is, but it's not what it should be, and it never will be. And sometimes that's just the way things are, and that's the case with this. I've been running it like that, and the compressor is just hanging by the refrigerant line, and it doesn't seem to care. It's not good, I don't like it, but that's the way it is. I actually suspect that this is a very low hours unit, because the condenser is fine. The coils are perfectly fine all the way down until the bottom 3/4 of an inch. Excuse me, I just got up. Where it would have sat in the pan. And since I pulled this from the original install, the way it sat was the I probably could get some pictures of the original install. The unit was high up in the wall, just under the overhang. Actually, it's pretty much just like this, where the overhang is like that. Just picture that the unit was up at the top, and so it never saw sunlight. Right. It was under a bunch of trees. It was under the overhang of the house, and so it never saw sunlight. And so if somebody was to use the machine, it would fill it with water because it pulls a ton of water, and then it would just sit there full of water, right? The pan would just sit there with about 3/4 inch of water, rotting everything out. And because there's no sun, that water probably did not evaporate for a very long time. So my guess was it was used on occasion, and it just sat full of water, and that's why it got so bad. If it was used heavily, the condenser should be rotted from the water keeps slinging up. Because I think that's the problem, is when you shut it off and it sits full of water, that's where the problem really starts. I mean, water flinging up on the coil is not great. Over time, it's eventually going to do its damage. But I think the damage mostly takes place when it's just sitting there wet. So that's my suspicion behind this one, because it runs perfectly. It has not lost an ounce of charge. The compressor sounds healthy. The fan bearings are perfectly fine. I never even oiled them yet. So I think it's low hours. My only concern is the floating refrigerant lines and so forth, but I hope this keeps running for many, many years, because this is really neat to have found this and to have it here. Because if I could pick like 3 units out of the whole world to put in this room, this would be on that list. So this is neat, and it works good too. I really need this high capacity in here because of the way the windows are and the way the roof is. It gets so hot in here, and this is the only machine I've had in here so far that's really able to handle it. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and turn it on. The timer actually works, and that's another reason why I think this hasn't been used that much. It probably was unplugged for a while, because those timers, we never see those things working. I mean, it's after 30 years they're just going to wear out. So that's still running, and it keeps time just fine. However, I don't know how to use it. You know, it seems like these white pieces should be able to be moved or something. I don't know. I can't quite figure it out. My grandfather has the original instruction manual for his 12,000, which has the same timer. So I got to ask him for a copy of that manual, because it should talk about how to use the timer. Anyways, let's see. It should be in range. No, just as barely in range. So this is like 82 degrees, and then this is about 75, which is where I usually run it, and then we can go down to about 64. Okay, the gas just moved through the evaporator. Compressor sounded perfectly fine when it started up, no weird noises, not even chattery at all. I have not heard the thing become chattery once since it's been in service. And that initial 1 or 2 tests on the bench, it wasn't too happy, but after a good long session of operation, it has sounded perfectly since. And for a rotary, it starts cooling really fast. It's already starting to get cold. It sounds great. sounds whatsoever out of any component here. It's already pretty much up to temperature. Very cold. Now, I don't usually run it on low unless it's cool out. It's actually it's already hot out today. It's already 78 plus it's in the sun. And you can hear the compressor is getting a really high head pressure now. There's not enough airflow. The machine is kind of noisy, but you have to expect that for something moving this much air. It's moving a tremendous amount of air. That's one of the reasons why I like these side discharge designs, because I think the airflow really circulates pretty good. The oscillation thing also works. Well, at least it did. What the heck? Huh. It was working. I don't know. I wonder if it just jammed up or something. Well, I'll fix it. But it was working. Yeah, I don't usually run it in the morning because within an hour or two it'll be out of the sun. This is just not ideal to have the condenser baking in the sun like this. And it's throwing out some serious heat. Shows up on the camera, but you actually can see the heat coming off of it. And it's got good airflow all the way down right to the bottom. It's got good airflow down here. Yeah, something's off that. But see, look at the coil. The bottom portion is rusted where it sat in the water, but then it's perfectly fine. this up on the camera here, but you can see the heat coming off of there. Definitely good. Going back cold. The oil is cold all the way through. All that rust and it still holds every ounce of the charge. The whole thing will jolt quite a bit when the compressor shuts off, just because it's such a big mechanism. That concerns me because of the way the compressor is mounted, but it truly doesn't seem to care, which is baffling, but that's the way it is. I smell that R22 in there. And when it stops, it shakes the whole wall. So it shows the compressor is really securely mounted in there, even though it's not mounted to anything. If the compressor was just like flopping around, then I would say we really have a problem, but the refrigerant line is thick. It's got to be at least ½ an inch. I don't know. It's not the way it should be, but I don't know what else to do about it. So for now it works. It doesn't show any signs of not wanting to work anymore. So I suspect this will be running for many years to come.